Well, good afternoon and welcome to our August Ranching 101 webinar presented by AgTrust. Today, you will hear from an industry expert and learn how strategic weaning protocols can boost calf performance and increase your ranch's profitability. Before we start, please join me for a short message from AgTrust.
When your passion is agriculture and a rural way of life, you need a partner who understands. That partner is AgTrust Farm Credit, formed from two trusted farm credit associations. Our mission is to provide personalized financing tailored for full and part-time farmers, ranchers, agribusinesses, and rural homeowners. And because we live in the communities we serve, AgTrust Farm Credit is here to help you succeed.
Videos didn't want to stop in the background. Well, very nice. Okay. Today, you will get a buyer's perspective on what they will look for when purchasing calves, and we're excited to welcome Will Yeager from Superior Livestock Auction to share how strategic practices before, during, and after weaning can set your sale-bound calves up for success. Today, you'll learn how standard practices and protocols can and should be communicated effectively to buyers. If you have any questions during the webinar, please submit them in the chat box. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Will to introduce himself.
How y'all doing? Will Yeager, Superior Livestock. I was going to go over today about vaccinations and weaning cattle and what the profitability could be with doing so. This is all approximate, so don't hold me to it. We're also going to let you, when I'm going through, if anybody has a question, you can stop, ask me a question. I'll be glad to give you as much info and insight as I know. So we're going to get things started. And what I'm going to start with is the VAC protocol with Superior Livestock. So we have a VAC 45 and a VAC 45 plus. And what VAC 45, what we have that starts with two doses of 7-way or 8-way blackleg and 2 doses of modified live. And what a modified live is would be an IBR, PI3, BRSV, or BVD type 1 or 2. And it also comes with 1 dose of, and I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to just say pastorella because I can't say the big word. And then VAC 45 plus, so that starts with 2 rounds of that. VAC 45 plus would be 3 rounds. So what you would do on that, so a VAC 45 calf, say would be you give them 1 round on the cow, and then when you go to wean them, you give 1 round at weaning. And so a difference between a VAC 45 and a VAC 45 plus is we need all those same shots that I was talking about, 7-way, 8-way blackleg, and a modified live with your choice of wormer. But with the VAC 45 plus would be 3 rounds. So what that would be 2 rounds on the cow and then 1 round of weaning, or it could be one round on the cow and then 1 round at weaning, and then you bring them back up, say 10, 15 days, and then give them another, and then hit them with another round. And that would be of your choice. So what typically my guys do is 2 rounds on the cow, 1 round at weaning. The cattle are so stressed at that point. By the time you're weaning them, you don't want to mess with them as much as possible. So just you like to give them their time to heal up and get going and put pounds on. And our last option, and we call VAC Precon and VAC 60. VAC Precon calves are purchased cattle that are sold through Superior, and VAC 60 would be home raised calves. And with both of these buttons, a VAC Precon and a VAC 60 would be weaned 60 plus days. And they'd have the 2 rounds of 7-way, 8-way, 2 rounds of modified live, and also, having the pastorella shot in those. What I do like in our county or in our country in East Texas where I'm from is I like using Merck products. I like Vista Once and the Vista Once. I'm drawing a blank right here. Vision 8 Somnus and Worming with Cydectin or Epernex. And I have a lot of guys out west that like using the Zoetis products and BI, Pyramid 5 Plus response. So it's kind of, as long as you're getting them those shots, it's whatever product you want, your choice of your liking. the biggest thing in the whole deal, it doesn't matter what shot you give them or what shot you like, is make sure they get them. You're creating a product for the next person, and you're wanting to create a good product, something that's going to do good for them. Because what you're really looking for in the cattle industry is longevity of having these guys want to come back and buy these cattle from you. And so you want the cattle to do the best they can do when they get there. And doing that, you have to prepare the cattle for the feed yard or the grow yard or whichever way these cattle might go. So that's one of my biggest things I preach to my guys is let's make sure we get these shots in them and do it correctly. That way it'll make things easier on the next guy, and it'll make when things are easier on the next guy, you'll see big bonuses in the future when guys are coming back trying to buy your cattle because no news is good news. Most time when I get a phone call, it's something going wrong, and uh, we just try to avoid those situations at all possible, and just try to bring a good product to market whenever we go to sell the cattle. Uh, what next I was going to touch on after the vaccinations is the feeding program, and I'm a bad example about this personally because I sell my calves off the cows because I don't have time to wean. But and I have a lot of guys that the first set of cattle will sell off the cow. So say like you got 2 rounds of cattle, the first set you sell off the cow, the second set you wean. And for the most part, all my guys that do sell their cattle, weaning is the first option, but it's not always possible. Everybody's situation is different, whether you have time at home or you're or money's tight, you don't want to spend the money on the feed. So that's what I'm gonna go over with you about this is, people have a hard time grasping spending so much money on feed and investing time in their cattle. But the way I like looking at cattle and looking at it is your cattle is your investment. So I know the feed cost up front, the medicine and the time value, everything else is kind of tough at first, but it's going to be something that would be a return to you, an investment in your cattle. So I had some examples here. Say you sold a 600-pound calf at 385 straight off the cow. That'd be 2310 per head. Well, weaning them 60 days, and I'm just going off easy, make it easy math. You go off 2 pounds a day. So if you wean 60 days, 120 pounds. So if we're figuring 600-pound calf straight off the cow at 385 at 2310, you wean them 60 days, that's 120 pounds. You'd have a 720-pound animal to sell as a feeder calf. So we sold that calf, and this is the same kind of market. We sold that calf 720 pounds at 365. That'd be 2628. So we'd be going off of 2628. We subtract that 2310 that we would get selling straight off the cow. That'd be a gross profit of 318. Now I divide that 318 divided by 120 pounds, and that comes out to 265 cost of gain, or 265 cost. So when I wean cattle and when I buy cattle to wean, I use my local feed dealer, and that's LNC. Uh, and called him yesterday to get a price on feed, and he told me 325 a ton. So we're figuring that at that'd be 1625 on the cents. So if I'm wanting to put 2 pounds head of 2 pounds gain a day, I would figure at a 600 pounder, I'd figure 2.5% of their body weight. So that's roughly 16 pounds. So I did 16 pounds times the 0.1625. That come out to 260. So we did 260 divided by 2. That's a pound of gain. So that'd be $1. So your cost of gain is $1.30. So subtract the $1.30 from the 265 that we had from the weaning, you'd be left with $1.35 cost of gain. So you do the $1.35 times 120, that'd be $162 a head profit. So I know a lot of people would think, man, 160 bucks, that might be a lot of time and effort for 160, but if you're talking about a load of cattle and you're doing 70 head, that'd be $11,000 a load. And so 11,340. Uh, so that would be something that might be worth your time and effort. Uh, hello, still there?
Yes, we still are. And we actually do have a
Okay.
question that I'll go ahead and ask.
Okay.
Does the time of year the calf was born or the age vary for these calves born in May versus calves born in July or August? And this question was asked while you were talking about the VAX programs.
Okay. So repeat. You're saying say that one more time for me.
Does the time of year the calf was born or their age vary for these calves born in May versus calves born in July or August?
Uh, the program's the program. It wouldn't vary with the age. It just vary from when you weaning them. Uh, the most of the time, like my fall born calves, all my guys sell them off the cow because that's summertime and they're pulling them. All my spring born calves, all my customers that have spring borns, they normally wean them cattle because they run them through the summertime, and then when it comes to fall time, they'll wean them for 60 days, and then we'll have a calf to sell to the guys that are trying to buy cattle for wheat. And so that would be so if I was going to classify fall born to spring born, I would say the fall born cattle would be more likely to be straight off the cow, and then the spring born cattle be more likely to be a weaned calf.
Good deal.
I don't know if that answered that or not.
I think that was good. And we'll let the rest of the questions keep trickling through. Will, why is weaning such a critical stage for calf performance and ranch profitability?
Uh, why? Say that one more time for me.
Why is weaning such a critical stage for calf performance and ranch profitability?
Well, it just takes to the next level. Like I said, it's an investment. I mean, if anybody come to you and say, "Hey, look, uh, I have stocks you can make $100 a head on at Edward Jones," I think there'd be a line out the door trying to invest in that stock. So when you're investing in your cattle and you're investing in these programs, with vaccinations and in the feed and everything else, and your time has a lot to do with it because you're out there with the cattle making sure everything's right. It's a return on investment, and it's a big return, I believe, when you're talking about you say 50 head, $100 a head, that's $5,000, and that's something that can go towards helping pay for something on the ranch or fixing because we have a lot of problems. I know Travis Kinley. He's always had something broke down on Snapchat, so every little bit helps coming back and helping pay for things on the ranch.
And what are some of the most common mistakes that producers make during weaning that they can prevent?
Common mistakes that I think is maybe not winning them long enough.
Mm,
Uh, some people think weaning them 15, 30 days is enough, just trying to get the ball out of the cattle. Say you get the ball out of a calf, it's 3 days, and then you got 15 days, and we see it, you at local barns or pre-con, somebody say pre-con calf, and then they run in there. These guys are not dumb. Them mortar buyers been sitting there for 30, 40 years. They can see cattle that come through there and look like they may have not been long weaned enough, and that's really harming the calf and harming the next guy. Uh, in fact, I have a lot of people that used to vac 45 cattle and then move to vac 60, and then now even some want to do 60 to 75 or even 100 days, and it's because of the calf just gets better at growing and being weaned and not being at such a high stress level. And when those cattle take off, I've had guys wean calves in the first 45 days, they're gaining 2 pounds a day. And then from 45 to 60, they'll be gaining 2.5 to 3. And then from 60 to 75. So it's really just an incline of the performance of the calf. And so and at the end of the day, when the cattle are gaining better, that's more profit and more money in your pocket.
mhm. It does look like I'm going to share the Superior Livestock page again, and show the VAX 45. Would you mind touching on those? Looks like. Can you see that okay, Will? The back's
Yes,
45?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What age is it best to start weaning?
Uh, I would say 8 to 10 months would be, what most people do. And the reason why that we do that in our country is to give the cow a break for a couple months before you have to ask her to do her job again. So 8 months probably would be best, but I know some guys that do 8 to 10, kind of a range there. Uh, and like I said, that's to give the cow a couple months to mend back up before she has to work another calf. And it also gives time for that calf to be old enough to take the weaning process and the stress process to go through it. And then, also having age on the cattle, their stomach and everything else is going to be working a little better. So when you're pumping that feed in there, it can be hard on them at times if they're too young. So you got to start them at a slower rate. But having that age on them, you can kind of get them going and get them going quicker to put more weight on and to be and have health, and you wouldn't have as much sickness in the cattle.
And once calves are weaned, what practices keep them healthy until performing at sale?
The best practice is what I'm talking about right here with this VAC 45. Having these shots in these calves, on the, giving the shot. The so I skipped it because I was really just talking about VAC 45 and VAC 60. But to get these cattle on route to produce and do good at weaning is like the VAC 24. And if you can scroll up, the VAC 24 and VAC 34 protocols. And so a VAC 24 calf, he's getting a shot 2 to 4 months of age. He's getting 1 round of 7 to 8 weight black leg. He's getting 1 dose of IBR, PI3, BRSV, or BVD, and then 1 dose of Pastorella. Whereas a VAC 34 calf, he's getting 2 rounds of black leg and then 1 dose of Pastorella, 1 dose of BVD. And in a VAC 34 plus calf, he's getting 2 rounds of black leg, 2 rounds of BVD, and 2 rounds of Pastorella. And so this whole protocol that Superior started is really something that'd be a good guideline. Even if you don't sell cattle with Superior, it's something that is a good guideline for you to start your calves and get your calves going in the right direction anywhere that you're marketing or doing with your cattle. We'd love to have you at Superior Livestock, by the way, but I know there's other avenues. But for this protocol, even if I wasn't selling with the video, I would follow this protocol because it is a great protocol for your cattle and to get them going in the right direction and get your cattle in stages. And so these are set stages of setting yourself up for success and then setting the buyer up for success down the road when he's buying your cattle and taking your cattle in. So whether you're selling them off the cow or selling them weaned, these VAC 34 program, the VAC 45, the VAC 60, all these kind of steps are in the right direction for setting your cattle up for success and not having a whole lot of sickness or death if you are looking into weaning a cattle.
Is 6 months too early to wean?
No, ma'am, it's not too early. And we have guys wean them at 6 months. That calf, you're talking around the 450, 500 pound range. It's not too early to wean. It's just might be a little harder on the calf to get going when they get started.
And what are you feeding the weaned calves?
I feed them like a 12 or 14% commodity mix from LNC, and uh, Purina also has a good commodity mix. That's that's good like that. That has the 14 to 12% protein, and basically what that is kind of like cottonseed, uh, uh, cracked corn, and then Another main thing that I will touch base on, getting your calf started, and I see it a lot, whether it's hand, and this is big on hand feeding cattle. There is a lot of people who use gravity feeders. Nothing wrong with it, but hand feeding cattle, my guys out west that I have a good connection with and learned a bunch from them, is they start the cattle slow. They make sure the cattle are cleaning the bunks. And so what that is, I talked earlier about a 2.5% feeding cattle 2.5% of their body weight. So a 6 weight calf, 2.5%, that'd be around 15 pounds of feed. Well, when you're starting your calf, you wouldn't start them at 15 pounds. You'd start them calves at 3 to 5 pounds and get them coming to the bunk, get them cleaning the bunks. And then once you start seeing a pattern of them cleaning the bunks, that's when you start increasing. And then you get to that 15, 17 pounds of feed. And another big key on starting wean cattle, and it's the most valuable part of anything, is fresh, clean water. And another good tool is good clean hay. And so a lot of them guys, when they get cattle started, instead of the first day having them, instead of putting feed in the bunks, they'll put good horse quality hay out in the bunks to get the cattle coming to the bunks, and then that's when they'll start slowly starting to feed them, and then have the cattle start coming to feed. But good hay and good clean fresh water is the most important on any of it.
What are your thoughts on creep feeding calves while on the cow in the age to start?
I do not have a lot of experience with creep feeding cattle on the cow. I have some customers that do it. I think they would start them. If I was going to start the creep feed, I would think I would do it maybe a month or two before I was going to wean the cattle. And basically, what's good about creep feeding is getting the cattle associated with feed, and that's what I was talking about. Starting the cattle with hay is because that's a good bond or mix to get them coming to feed. If the cattle are started on creep feed, they already know what feed is, so they're already ready to go and ready to run on the feed. So starting cattle be a month or two before weaning on the creep feed.
Next question we have is how can we get into superior livestock sales? Is there a minimum lot size?
So minimum lots, so we do try to sell cattle at 50,000 pounds. So if that would be 80 head at 600 pounds. That'd be a 48,000 pound load. We do sell some cattle that are lighter than that. So it'd be like a 35,000. Say if I had a 30,000 pound or 35,000 pound load lot, we'd put a freight adjustment on them to help for the missing weight. And if you do want to get on Superior Livestock, I put my sales pitch on. You can, I guess, we can get you my phone number at the end and get you hooked up, get you running.
Yes, yeah, we're happy to get in contact with anyone. Uh, get Will's contact information to them.
Perfect. I'd
Let's
hope to have a couple customers on here. I don't know if you see them or not.
let's see what some other questions are coming in. Okay, so this is more of a buyer's perspective question. Have you seen calves with documented weaning protocols consistently bring higher amounts?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and that's what another thing, and I didn't touch base on. I accidentally skipped because I got to rambling about cost of gain and things like that. But I have customers and as buyers that they won't even look at the cattle. They could be the best calf walking in the world, but if they don't have a VAC 60 protocol on them, they won't buy them. And it's because they want to make sure when they buy them, they have a good product that they're not going to have any trouble with. Not saying VAC 45, VAC 34, VAC 24 have anything wrong with them, but it's just a preference. And so when you're weaning your cattle and when you're doing these protocols, you're actually taking another step and going another level. So it'd be an easy example, be like Major League Baseball, you know, minor leagues is single A, double A, triple A, majors. And so that's the kind of stages of these cattle. So like a VAC 24 single A, VAC 34 is AA. VAC 34 plus is AAA, and then we got the majors at 40, or AAA be 45, and then the major be VAC 60 plus. And what you're doing is you're opening your door, because there's a lot of feed yards out there that there'll be a feed yard that'll buy only VAC 60 calves. And then there'll be another feed yard that might buy VAC 60 and VAC 40 calves, 45 calves. Then there'll be another feed yard that'll be VAC 60, VAC 45, and VAC 34 calves. He don't mind buying a baller. Well, if you weaned your calves VAC 60, you have 3 major bidders on them cattle. So, and then if you just did VAC 45, well, you took one feed yard out, you have 2. Well, then if you have VAC 34, you have 1. So it's kind of a cycle of do the most you can for your cattle is doing the most for you, and opening doors to having buyers everywhere, compared to maybe setting a ceiling where one of them guys might not buy or might not bid because he's wanting a VAC 60 calf and doesn't want to mess with a VAC 45 or a balling calf.
Mhm. And do you see tangible benefits from marketing calves as all natural versus not being raised all natural?
Yes, there is benefits and there is premiums on cattle as being all natural, and being all natural is non-hormones or non-antibiotics, and also that's to do with your mineral and your liquid feed turned out on the cattle. There is still a premium on natural cattle. I sell quite a bit of them with IMI Global. Uh, the premium has tightened though with the market the way it is. The market's so high that there is a tighter premium gap on those calves. But and what I tell people is we're not doing this for this year. We're doing this for the bigger picture. So a 10-year average, that if you're looking at a 10-year average on a natural calf, it's gonna be a bigger premium. It's gonna be an 8 to 10 to 15 cent premium on them cattle. If we're just looking at it this year, we might be looking at a 3 to 5 cent premium on the cattle, and sometimes might even be level with the cattle. And it's just because of what the market's doing and how high the market is. It's tightened that window on them cattle, but not to say that window might not expand again. It's just what we're going through right now. But there is a premium on the natural calves, uh, and I'll stand by that on the being that in the long run, there's a bigger premium in the bigger picture.
Mhm. I know we've talked about weaning, but what's another thing that cattle producers can really make sure that they do in order for their calves to be more attractive to buyers? What are some other things that we're missing that we can include?
Uniformity. Trying to get a good calf group together, and when we're talking about that, is good breeding windows. So, uh, I live in East Texas. Yes, I would love to have my calves be in a 45 to 60-day calving window. That's not the case. I battle just like everybody else battles with a 120-day calving window. But what I try to do, even though my windows are bigger, is I sort the cattle into windows. So if I have a 100-day calving window, I sort calves and sell them in a 50-day window, and make sure the uniformity of the cattle are level and the kind of same age group. So that's one thing that we battle everywhere, is having the levelness and this kind of the close same age and same weight on cattle. And the next big thing, and I do push for the Angus bulls, because I mean everywhere you go you're going to see black cattle or black hided cattle sell the best, and that's because of the programs that the cattle do go into. But when I say this is pick an identity and stick with it, whether that's Black Angus, Charolais, Hereford, Beefmaster, Brangus. If you're running 100 cows, don't have 4 different bulls on them. Uh, that's the biggest thing when these guys are buying that I've seen personally, is that if they're 100% black hided, they're going to bring a premium. If they're 100% Charolais yellow hided, they're going to bring a premium. If they're 100% red Angus, they're going to bring a premium. But when it's 50% black, 40% char, 10% red, when it's uh when there's some mixture in the breeding, and the reason that is reason why I'm bringing this up is because the cattle feed different, because they are different. The cattle, one calf's an Angus cross calf, one calf's a Hereford calf, one calf's a Charolais calf. If I stand, you know, 10 Charolais calves next to 10 Angus calves, they can both weigh 600, but that Charolais calf looks a foot taller than him because he's going to have more bone and yield to him. And so that's what them guys see in the feed yards. They want to have a pen of a solid identity of the cattle together. That way they feed together, and when they go to kill, they're all ready to kill, and there's no money left on the table for having to wait or having to sort off or anything like that.
We have another question for you. How would someone know if you ran a cow-calf operation, if the calves are weaned, and if they are vaccinated? Do we bring paperwork, or does the person buying the calf vaccinate?
So the question is, how will we know if they're vaccinated or weaned when buying the cattle?
Yes. How would
Uh,
you? Yep, sorry.
go ahead, say it one more
Oh,
time.
I
That
was
way I
just,
know.
how would someone know if you ran a cow-calf operation, if the calves are weaned, and if they are vaccinated? Do we bring paperwork, or does the person buying the calf vaccinate?
So the they're gonna one thing they're gonna know if they're weaned or vaccinated is how the cattle perform when they get there, because I mean cattle, the game tape, as an old ball coach or ball player says, don't lie. The cattle don't lie. If the cattle get there and they're starting to fall apart and they're getting sick and they're not feeding good, this guy's going to know, hey, this other guy either lied to me or he just didn't do it. So there is a big telltale on when the cattle arrive and how the cattle are doing or how they respond. Because a cattle, when a cattle has 2 rounds of shots, I'm not saying a calf. If you follow all these protocols, they can still get sick. It's life. It's the real world. That still happens. But the deal is, when they get sick and you hit them with an antibiotic, they respond because the cattle have had it in their system, and so that's something to help them. Well, if a calf has never had a shot or never had a needle in them, and he gets sick, and then you go to doctor him, get him an antibiotic, and he doesn't respond, that's kind of the telltale of, okay, these cattle hadn't been worked or hadn't seen a vaccination. So it's basically the response. Another thing is, at Superior, when I go and I talk to these guys and I'm signing the cattle up, we go over the vaccination protocols, and we talk about it. And I try to stay informed or in tune with them on what they're giving the cattle and what they're doing. Uh, we haven't been wanting or asking for the paperwork or maybe the medicine, because it's just a good old boy system. That's what the cattle world is. But I could see in the future one day that, hey, to validate these cattle as VAC Precon or VAC 60 or VAC 2434, we want to have a receipt. And to be honest with you, I think that'd be the best is actually show and be honest up front about it and show the people that you are trying and that you are doing the right thing. And I do know some sell barns, when they do sell the cattle, that I have a buddy in Oklahoma that told me that when they take cattle up there, they take the receipts of the medicine to show the people that they bought the medicine and this is what the cattle are worked with.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on white face baldies?
I love them. It's a great cross of heterosis. They make great feeder cattle on the steer side, and they make good replacements because it's given a little. You're crossing a Hereford with an Angus, so you're giving a little bit more bone to that Angus cross calf. And to be honest with you, a black baldy, that'd be one of my favorite crosses.
Looking at the average year to year, when is the best time to sell in the year, and at what weight for profitability?
From year to year, the best time to sell be summertime. We have a sale called Week in the Rockies in July. 1st of July, right there after 4th of July. So like July 10 to 15, somewhere around in that range. And them cattle always seem, my dad's worked for Superior for 35, 38 years. And I mean, on a 30-year average, all my customers that my dad had been doing it with forever, they all want to be on the Weekend Rocky sale. And it always seems like that summer run or summer peak is in July or August. And so we always try to shoot to sell cattle then. And what was the second half of the question of like when the cattle deliver? Is that
And at
what you asked?
what weight for profitability?
What weight for profitability on for the rancher or for somebody that's like a
When is the best time to sell in the year and at what weight? Or yeah, how heavy should your calves be at these cells, say the summer cell?
so summer sale, we're selling fall calves at the summer. And so them cattle are coming in uh July, August, September, and they'd be 6 to 650 coming if they're going to come straight off the cow. If they're going to be weaned in that time frame, they'd be, we'd be selling 7 to 800 pound steers. Uh, if they're weaning them July for September delivery, something like that. But for the best marketing month, I would say July. The best weight, if you're going to be coming off a cow, would be 6 to 650, and if you're going to be shooting for a feeder calf, I would want to say 775 to 8 1/4 or 850. You can bump up to 850. But like I said, just like I was talking about how these protocols, the 3 stages of protocols and 3 different feed yards, the bigger you're getting your calf, the less amount of feed yards that are, you're starting to take some feed yards out because there are some guys that want to buy calves at 600, 700 pounds. And then if you go to market a calf at 850, they don't want to buy anything over 800.
Mhm.
So the bigger the calf gets, the less of the buyers that you might have.
So over the years, what changes have you seen in how calves are marketed and valued, and what can you predict for the future? Or what are your thoughts on what to expect?
So over the years, we have seen a uh, big plus in marketing your cattle out front. That doesn't stand true this year, and not saying that's not going to stand true next year. Uh, this thing has literally straight lined. I remember when it got to $3, I was excited. $3 feeders in August feeder board. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then it got to 310, and it got 320, 330, 340. And now today we hit 350. I mean, there's people talking about $4 feeders. I've never thought I would see anything like this in my life. It is, that being said, for us to sustain a good market and to be able to do this and have a good market in the long term of everything, I think there needs to be a level we need to get to and kind of flatten out and stay there. Because just like in 2014, 2015, when we seen this huge spike, well, it's there. And so I would really like to see something get here and kind of flatten out a little bit for us.
Mhm.
We have a lot more tools to take care of your cattle now with the marketing, and not just with Superior Livestock, but like with a commodity broker on hedging your cattle or a LRP, livestock risk protection. So at this price point and at the markets we're seeing, it's something you need to start looking into because I've been saying the market's gonna go down for 6 months. I've been wrong, so don't quote me on this. But there's going to be something happen. We have the screw worm south of the border. If that ever gets into Texas or Arizona or anything else, that's going to be a headliner, and that's going to be a bad headliner for American cattle raisers or cattle ranchers. And so we have that at our doorstep. We have Mexico trying to bring cattle back in, so that's going to start kind of flooding the market. And with the volatility of just what the world, what's happening in the world today, not just in America, just everywhere, Ukraine, Russia. There's going to be something that might hit us and just blindside and ruin everything that's going on for us. So I do suggest if you have somebody you can reach out to, and if you don't, I can point you in the right direction with one of those guys. Because this is at this point, I'd hate to see something this great get away from somebody, and that being a 350 cattle market.
Mhm. Well, we'll give everyone one last chance to answer or ask any final questions. Will, while we're waiting on any final questions, what final advice do you have?
Uh, Final advice I would have is enjoy these times that we're getting in the cattle market. Try to buy more cows. The numbers are short. They seem like, you know, we seem like it's short this year. I think next year is going to be even shorter because you're seeing more and more cattle and cows go to market. I have people call me all the time saying, "Hey, can you find me some cows?" There's not a whole lot of cows available. What is available right now is bred heifers, and a lot of people don't like buying bred heifers, but they're having to because they're not able to find the cow herd or the cow numbers that we're getting, and that's falling back from a couple years ago when you're going sitting in a sale barn and these packers were giving more money for the cows than the normal rancher was, and it's still happening today. So the shortage of numbers and shortage of the cow herd is a real thing. I'd say hold tight, hold on to your investment, keep trying to grow your cow herd, feed America, and try to protect your profitability because even though we are short of numbers and we do think this thing is here to stay and never going anywhere, uh, Wall Street or the Chicago doesn't care about that. They can drop this thing in a blink of an eye. So always try to protect yourself and stay advanced or stay ahead of it and keep ranching.
Well, it does look like we had a few more questions come through. So, is it hard to find replacements and my cows are getting older?
I just said that. No, I'm just teasing. Yeah, it is harder to find replacements. Uh, the cows are getting older, which is a good thing. You bought them at a right price a long time ago when you had them. You ranched on them a couple of years. You raised your calves. Now it's time to take them to market. The the older cow market right now is unbelievable. Packers are giving a lot of money, but at the same time, your replacement cost is going to be unbelievable. So make sure, like I said, you're protecting yourself with these high prices. I heard I heard some numbers from Tom Johnson's sale in Brenham, Texas this Sunday. Bred cows are bringing from 6,500 to 7,100. So it is a crazy time to be in the cattle industry. It's a
Mhm.
hard time to want to try to replace your cows, but I would say it still be a good investment and just look at it as you got the good out of that cow. You're going to get a little good out of her, taking her back to market and selling her, and then just re up and try to revamp your cow herd.
What cattle breed do you see perform the best in the feed yard?
Uh, the best breed, man. This is a very tricky question, a very tricky answer. Uh, the guys that want, you know, I'm gonna sound biased, but the best quality breed and performance most times Angus cross, and that's what I kind of sell as like a quarter blood calf. So that's coming a quarter blood. We're coming off a 3/8 cow with the Angus bull, coming back to a quarter blood black Angus cross calf. Uh, the reason why I say that calf might be the best performance in my opinion is that I send them calves all the way to South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado. So these northern buyers wouldn't be coming down to Southeast Texas to buy these cattle if they're not performing well because most of the time you're having to compete with South Dakota, Montana Angus, or Charolais, whatever breed it is. northern cattle are hard to compete with southern cattle, and so being that these southern quarter blood calves can go up there and compete with the best, and these guys want them and want to buy them back, I would say that that'd probably be my biggest best performance calf.
And final question, is any of this advice different for smaller ranches with cow crops of 25 to 40 head?
No, all that advice stays the same, whether you have 20 head or 1,000 head. An investment is an investment. I be honest with you, me and my dad have 250 cows, and I think I made more money when I had 25 cows. So, uh, it's the same investment, whether it's 20 cows or 200 cows. Invest in your cow herd, and then you'll be have profits and return back to you.
And I said final question, but we'll ask one more. Um, Normally, I'd sell my Angus cows at age 12. However, they don't travel far for food or drink and are able to keep their teeth in good shape. Should I retain them for another birth or two, given where prices are today?
That depends on how well you can take care of them. Sounds like you're taking care of them good enough to get them to 12 years old. I would I would probably take care of them, try to get one more calf out of them because as of right now, where the cow herd is, the if you take that cow to market, somebody else is buying that cow to raise a calf out of it and then try to get one more round out of her. So I would say the sounds like you take good care of your cattle, keep taking good care of them, get one more calf out of them.
Good. Well, it appears we no longer have any questions, but we want to thank everyone who joined us today for our Ranching 101 webinar, and we hope everyone has a great afternoon and look forward to seeing you all on September 16th for our next Ranching 101 webinar, Selecting Your Next Herd Sire. Thanks so much for joining us, Will. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank y'all for everything.
Have a good one.
You too.
Mhm.